Kristi, I remember you back from the Yahoo groups, back when the only way to really reach out to other families was online through an email. No faces, no voice, just words typed on a screen. And I remember you always signed all of your emails at the end, "Just have faith," obviously because you named Justice Faith. So that's my first memory of you. What's your first memory of me?
It would also be the Yahoo groups. I just remember being scared and I felt alone. And then I found you on there, and I was thinking I probably still have every one of those emails that we went back and forth with, because they meant so much, having
Right.
somebody that would understand and be.
I used to print off every email, and then I would categorize them. If the conversation was about CoQ10, I would put those in a tab in a notebook. And then if the conversation was about growth hormone, I would put those under a tab. So I could always go back and refer to what did they say about growth hormone? Because everything's so foreign to you in the beginning, GH and CoQ10 and all these letters and numbers and abbreviations that you have no idea what they mean.
Suddenly we learned a whole new language that I quite honestly never planned on nor wanted to learn. But I was glad that you were next to me when we were learning them all. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that made it a little bit easier, for sure.
I think one of the reasons that we make such good friends is that, first of all, we both like wine and French fries, and probably wine and French fries together.
Right, and nachos and chips and salsa.
Chips and salsa. And our kids are really good friends, and I think they just hit it off from the beginning. And
what, 4 or 5 when
they were like 4 and 5. That is crazy. Yeah. I was trying to do the math today, and it's like, wow, we've really been friends that long. But yeah, we have. They were so little.
Like in person, actually, for the first time at PWSA conference in Texas.
In Texas, yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was like one of my very first PWSA USA conferences, and it was terrifying.
It was.
Right? I mean,
overwhelming. And then I saw you, and it was, this instant friendship, and it's just always been that way. The funny thing is Justice remembers it. She remembers meeting Reagan for the first time.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, as I was telling you before, and I think he has a secret little crush on Justice, but that's just our secret.
I won't tell anybody. I know she loves when they talk. They talk books. Like,
yes.
Which I still owe you some. Sorry about that.
I'm sure he's keeping tabs.
Sure he is.
I think another thing that we were talking about earlier today is that, both of us, for us, our child with PWS is the youngest, the baby. And I think that has a lot to do with why there's so many similarities between our children. I do think that having them as the last child, you have more time, and I think maybe more experience and more patience. I couldn't imagine doing this with a bunch of other little ones in the house. It has to be really difficult.
Definitely. Yeah, we did talk about that, how and the older kids, how they were able to help, and the younger, being the youngest, they wanted to try to keep up with their older siblings, and I think my older kids all benefited from having Justice in the house. I think that they learned patience, and they learned about differences, and they learned about acceptance and, helping others. So as hard as it was, I do believe that they're actually way better people.
I agree 100%. Yeah, there's two sides of that coin, and both of them are, a heads up. I think my kids have learned so much. In fact, my 2 daughters, I think their careers and their, what they've chosen to do in their life has something to do with having Reagan and being around and seeing all the therapies and all those things, and taking things so slowly, because as you know, with a child with Prader-Willi syndrome, it's baby steps to teaching anything. And so I think that carried forward for them in their careers today.
Nope, I agree. And I have to think that I know when I talk to parents that a lot of them are worried about the siblings, that comes up quite frequently. And I think that the best thing that we could do for our kids, which I know that you did, was to have them be involved.
Yeah.
You know, and to teach them and to let them be upset or angry or sad and to express those opinions as needed. And, you know, my kids always did. And then we'd take a step back and I found time for just them, you know, as hard as it was, but you need to make sure you step back and take time for just your other kids also. I mean, I have 5 kids, you know,
Right.
So you have to make
You know, and I think oftentimes too, you think, you know, you have to do everything by the book, you know, and I remember early on thinking, well, you know, we all have to eat at the same time. Well, when you have 5 kids, you can't do that. And they're all going to soccer at a different time and lacrosse at a different time. And so everyone's eating at a different time because they've got somewhere they have to be, you know, they all have their own lives. And so Reagan had to learn to adapt. And so I think that's not such a bad thing.
No, and we had to do that. And so we just taught justice, just like you did from early age. I mean, my son would come home from hockey at 10 o'clock at night and need to eat, you know, and the girls would come home from softball or soccer or volleyball, whatever the sport happened to be at the time, and they would need to eat then. So,
Yeah.
and that worked for our family. It worked. She knew that it wasn't her time to eat, and it was never ever an issue. It never was an issue.
So I was thinking back earlier today to the first time that I saw Reagan in the, you know, when he was born, and how he looked like a tiny little baby bird that had just fallen out of his mama's nest. And, you know, all I could think is, I'll never leave you. I'll never, he was just so fragile, I guess is the way I felt for him, that he just really needed me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was terrified. I was terrified to leave her. I was terrified for anybody to hold her. I was terrified to go to sleep, that I'd be afraid that she wouldn't, you know, be okay if I was sleeping. So yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw her, we knew that something wasn't right. Her muscle tone was so poor. It was terrible. And I guess I was kind of thinking about this after our conversation today and reading regrets. Do I have any regrets? I have one regret. My regret is I was so sad for so long instead of just enjoying every moment. I mean, you know, now I look at her and she's this beautiful, strong, you know, really healthy young girl. And I missed all those early years of her because I was so worried that I was going to mess up or do something wrong, you know, that is going to ruin her life. And that's just
Right. And I think that's one of the lessons that I feel like I've learned with having a child with Prader-Willi syndrome. You know, even though I've parented 4 other children, you know, it's also different. But the thing that I've learned the most is to live with hope and fear. I mean, it is simultaneously, you know, because you trust to a certain point your own instincts of being a mother, but you also doubt yourself, as you said, you know, am I going to do it right? There's so much doubt because, first of all, you know, a baby isn't a PWS baby, or a baby with PWS, saying that more correctly, doesn't show the typical signs of, you know, hunger and sleepiness, or, you know, just all those certain things that a typical baby does. So it's a little bit harder to decipher those cues.
Yeah, it was definitely more difficult. But I think as moms, we know what's best for our kids, and we will second guess ourselves. But I second guess myself with all of my kids, like, oh, should I have done that? Should I have not done that?
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway that I think that I have learned with justice is that I can't second guess myself, that I can only do what I can do, and I can't be everything to everybody all the time. So if we had to concentrate on her learning to read, and because of that, she maybe didn't learn to ride her bike till later, or, you know, she didn't learn to tie her shoes till later or whatever, and that's what we chose to do, and you can't go back. You can't change it, but that is just what we did in the moment, what we thought was right.
Yeah, you know, and one of the first things that I thought about when they were listing off that whole long laundry list of things that he wouldn't do, my thought was, oh my God, he's not going to be able to read. And I love to read. And so one of my favorite memories is, you know, the day he started reading little picture books. That was like, they're so wrong. He's going to read. And, you know, he's an avid reader now. So.
Yeah, Justice too. She loves to read. It's the strangest memory that I have of Justice, and it's so bizarre, but she was 3 and we were living way up in northern Minnesota, and she like jumped from the step all the way down, and I swear to you, everybody in all of Bemidji, Minnesota heard me scream because it was something that she couldn't do. You know what I mean? It was so
Right.
hard for her to do that. And when she accomplished it, I was so excited. And I thought, you know, I think back now, I'm like, she jumped. Oh my goodness. But it was huge because
Right.
she had to work so hard for every little thing that she's
Right.
done. And now we just got back from the trainer. And let me tell you what, this girl, she almost passed out. She was working out so hard tonight. It was intense. It was pretty intense.
Work out till you puke or something like that. Keep going until you vomit.
Her eyes kind
I
of
think that's my husband's motto. If you're not ready to puke, you're not working out hard enough.
hard enough. That's so funny. So when I think about like Justice and I think about Reagan, the word that always pops into my head is joy, because they are like the epitome of joy. Are they not?
Yeah, I mean, I say it almost every day. He's just a fun kid to be around. You know, and like I told you earlier, he drives me crazy, but I also love him like crazy. So it's, you know, he's just an awesome kid.
Yeah, he is. I know when we got to come and spend time with you guys, and we went to the Tim Tebow dance when the kids got to go. It was, I have to tell you, that was it was really fun to watch how you and Reagan interact, and Rob. It was precious, and I loved it. It was good.
I loved how Justice just, you know, put her arms around Rob, and he just melted like an ice cube.
Oh yeah,
You know, always trying to be this tough guy, and he just melted like that.
I don't want to be hugged. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too funny. He's always so tough, but yeah, he is it was so nice being able to spend time with your family.
Thank you. Well, we loved having you, so you could come back anytime. The kids loved being on the four-wheelers. That's another thing too, talking about the four-wheelers. You know, when we first bought that thing, I'm like, he's never going to be able to do anything but ride on the back of it. You know, and the first day that he was the leader, because typically it was Rob always, you know, being the leader, and Reagan would just follow. I'm like, just try it, see what happens. And when he did it, I mean, like tears of joy. I just couldn't believe he could do it. And, you know, he's out there now by himself, and he's able to just follow the path and not have to worry about it.
That's because he's amazing, and because, you know, he's got amazing parents that have helped him, you know, believe in himself. And don't you think that that is so important? Like,
it is. Yeah.
I think that if our kids, like Justice, people ask me, you know, like, does she get upset or sad about having a diagnosis? And the fact is she honestly loves who she is. She asked me one time, she's like, am I going to have Prader-Willi syndrome in heaven? And I said, I don't think so. I think, you know, I think everybody's healed. She goes, oh, well, what if I want to? She's like, that's who I am. That's what makes me who I am. You know, it's
right.
me. So I said, well, I guess if you want it, maybe you can have it. I don't know. But she's honestly very confident in who she is. And I think, you know, because of the conferences that we've been able to attend, because she's met other kids, you know, and it's not just, which helped me be able to make her more confident.
Yeah, I think that education is key. The more we know, the more we can, you know.
Right. If we just go on Google and just read, I mean, that that can take you to a very deep, dark place. But, you know, meeting other parents and other kids and just seeing the possibilities and the potential that our kids have, you know, I was like, I am setting this bar so high.
Yeah.
And she's always made it. She's always obtained every goal that we ever set for her.
Yeah, you mentioned that your favorite word is joy. I think my favorite word is possibilities. And I think, you know, with each generation, we've talked about this many times, with each generation, there's so much progress. The outcomes are better and better. And I think, you know, going forward, there are going to be more and more options for our kids as they live and grow and become adults. I think that the possibilities are endless for them.
I have to
agree. We're so close. I really believe that.
I know. I have to agree with you. And I'm not giving up hope that, you know, that even the kids that are the babies now are going to be even better off than our kids, which is hard to imagine because
Right.
they're doing exceptionally
Not
well.
to say that every single bit of this has ever been easy. And we talked about this earlier today, just that I know that often for new parents, they probably look at us and think that things have just been easy for us. You know, it really, there are days that it's horrible. There are days when, you know, I cry, he cries, dad goes out and sits in the garage on the lawnmower because he just wants 1 minute of peace and quiet. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And there's decisions that have to be made that maybe we don't necessarily want to have to make, you know, or we had a thing about grief the other day and how grief can kind of sneak up on you. You think, oh, okay, I'm past it. Well, we all grieve different things, like Justice deciding to not get a driver's license, her decision, which I'm really okay with. But that was another grieving process for me, you know, realizing that this is just another milestone that she's not going to do that my other kids do. But then I thought, well, she's not sad about it. Why would I be sad about it? You know, so it's kind of.
That just is so amazing. That's funny you say that because I asked Reagan recently if he wanted to learn to drive. I told him that I would, you know, take him out on a country road and he could drive my car. And he said no.
Yeah.
He said, I don't want to drive. I said, really? I said, what, you know, all your friends are driving. Does that bother you? And he's like, no. He said, I have siblings. They'll take me where I want to go. You and Dad, he said, or I'll just call an Uber.
That's Justice. Everything. You're just going to have to get me my own driver. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. We can handle that.
Yeah. So I was thinking, you know, after our talk earlier today about where I wanted for Justice in the future. And I guess really all I want is for her to be happy. But that's all I want for any of my kids, right?
Right.
And whatever that looks like, it may not look the same as, you know, my other 4 kids, but right now, I mean, she's happy. And that's all I want.
I think what I want for Reagan is to always feel loved. I mean, obviously he does by all of his siblings and by me, and he knows I love him the most in the whole world. You know, he always says he's the favorite. Of course he is, but I'll never say that to anyone else.
He does.
But, you know, I want him to find someone that can give him that when I'm no longer here.
Right.
And that does worry me, you know, because who's gonna build up his ego? You know, as a wife, as a mother, that's what we do. You know, I do it for my husband. I do it for my kids. Who will do that for him when I'm not here anymore?
Yeah. That conversation earlier today kind of brought that back up. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, is that I want her to have what John and I have. You know, I want her to have that.
Yeah.
And I think they will. I think he.
Well, I told you when we were talking last night, Reagan had that little look on his face, and we were talking about relationships, and I asked him, have you ever met anybody that makes your heart pitter patter? And he's like, yeah, but I'm not telling you who. But I know who.
That just makes me laugh. Oh, that's too funny.
But yeah, it may not be the way it is for us, but for them, it still would be a quality of love that, I mean, I always tell myself that certain people aren't only able to love so much. And so you have to accept the love they're willing to give. And so that would be the same for Reagan or for Justice. Maybe that love will look different, but who's to say different means wrong, right?
Right. I mean, every relationship has its own positive and negatives. And the way I see Reagan is he has a whole lot of love to give. You know, he is so loving always. So somebody will be extraordinarily lucky.
Well, I know for Justice, she has the biggest heart. She carries the burden of the world on her little heart. I know she does. And I'm sure she has some big shoulders from all the weight of that. And I think that you've done a really good job of allowing her to do that in a manner that makes her feel like she is giving back, but not, you can't sell your soul at the same time. You know, I know she wants to be there for everyone, just like her mom. She wants to be there for everyone, but there are times when she has to say, okay, I'm taking tonight off. I'm going to go spend 2 hours doing something I want to do. I know she has relationships with people all over the world.
Yes, she talks to a lot of people.
Yeah.
She likes to share and give hope and give people give people hope and joy. She likes to spread joy. So, she loves to share on the social media pages, and sometimes it's hard. She gets a lot of phone calls, a lot of very difficult phone calls, and so we have to talk through a lot of things that never in my life would I thought we'd have to talk through. But she handles it pretty well. And there are times where I've said, you're done. You need to tell everybody not call for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But
right. You have to draw that line at some point. Yeah.
At some point, everybody needs to take a little bit of a break at some point.
Kind of like parent mentoring, right?
Oh.
And that kind of parlays right into that parent mentoring that we were talking about, that, you can only do so much. You want to be there for them, to be their lifeline. Of course you do. But there's only so much you can do.
Right.
But I think that if there's one thing that I hope that my mentees remember about me, I hope I'm that little voice in the back of their head when they start to doubt themselves and say, I can't do this, I'm done, I cannot do this anymore. I hope I'm that voice that says, yes, you can.
I am pretty sure that you have impacted a ton of people, and they do think that, because you are probably one of the most positive, happy, beautiful, inside and out people that I happen to know.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. I only speak the truth. So, but as far as being a parent mentor, I kind of feel the same way. I think when I first talk to parents, my mentees, the very first thing I want to tell them is what Jenna Lee Heineman told me. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Right now, it seems dark and it seems scary, but every day that passes, it gets a little bit easier.
For sure.
And the lessons that I have learned and the friendships that I have made,
right?
Not because she has Prader-Willi syndrome, but because we're blessed to have this community that we're all so close, and there's so many people that we can reach out to, that I've never ever felt alone, especially as social media and stuff has picked up and we're able to connect with more people. I'm not a fan of posting things on social media as much as talking to people, but I've been able to connect with more people.
Yeah, and I think we have to adapt with the times, and I know texting is the thing, and people don't really pick up the phone and talk on the phone like they used to, but whatever it takes, whether it's texting or sending, a card in the mail, whatever it takes to let that person know that you are there for them, that you're thinking of them. And, if they don't acknowledge it, at least, you did all you could do. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes people aren't ready to talk, I wasn't ready when Justice she was 15 months old before I ever called PWSA.
Really?
Yeah, I was in denial, they're wrong. They did it wrong. She's going to be fine, So I was one of those people that I just did not want to talk to other people. I did not want to hear all the bad things.
No. I remember, Reagan was born in June, and 4th of July rolled around, and a lot of friends invited us over, and we literally came in the house, closed the blinds, shut the doors, closed the garage door, and we went into a shell. We needed time to grieve. We needed time to accept what we had just been told. And yeah, we didn't interact for a long time.
Nor did we. We didn't even tell anybody.
Yeah.
I think because as soon as you say it out loud, it's true. You are saying it. This is true. This is really happening. So
yeah.
We were very private. I kept it. People ask me now, is it wrong if I don't tell anybody? I think it's completely up to each person. You'll know when it's time, when you're ready to share that information. And it's not wrong to share it right away. And it's not wrong to wait until you kind of grieved that yourself. And I think
You know, and I know they talk about those stages of grief, and you know, when you come to that acceptance of, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to get to that point where you really truly accept what's happening.
right. And for me, I think it was more about, I wanted people to love Justice for who she was and not like pity her or feel bad for me. Do you know what I mean? I never ever been one like that. So I wanted them to get to know her, to love her, to see her for the beautiful child that she was, and not just look at her and start looking up what Prader-Willi syndrome is. Because as we all know,
Oh, that's the worst thing, right? Yeah, I have so many relatives that did look it up, and like, is he really going to be like that? So, you know, I've actually had people ask me, is he going to be retarded? I'm like, well, no,
yeah,
he's not.
that's, yeah, extraordinarily frustrating. So I don't know. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that I've had you over the years to bounce things off of when I wasn't sure, you know, is this
Likewise.
me, or is this a Prader-Willi thing, or is this just a typical kid thing, you know?
Right?
Because even though I had 4 older kids, they're all so different. I didn't always know if it was a Prader-Willi thing or if it was something completely different. So,
Well, my hope is that, you know, I get to watch all these kiddos grow up, and um, I mean, when I'm on Facebook all the time because I want to know what the kids are doing. I want to know, you know, what milestones are they reaching, and you know, where are they at in their journey, and how are the parents doing. And I hope that we all stay in touch. I obviously you and I will, because our kids are getting married someday.
right.
But
We will be friends forever. In 20 years, on a beach somewhere.
oh yeah,
Definitely in bikinis, for sure.
right.
For sure.
Yeah, in 10 years, you know, 20 years from now, well, heck, I'm hoping I'm still alive in 20 years. But
Better be.
you know, like I said, every generation is different, and I just feel like, you know, we have so much coming down on the pipeline, and I know that sounds so redundant because you hear it over the years, you hear the same thing. There's so much to be hopeful for. There's so much to be hopeful for, but there is. I mean,
And just look what's happened even since our kids have been born. You know, the difference
yeah,
just with diagnosis being earlier and early intervention, and obviously growth hormone, and you know, knowing not necessarily which diet to use because every kid is different, but
yeah.
just knowing that we need to be aware of that, I think has changed the way that our kids
Drastically. I think we have a really good handle on the diet thing. I really do. I just, you know, I know that there are kids that are still struggling, and I know that there are resources out there for those that are struggling. And I think probably my biggest dream is that, you know, we as a community continue to think of new ways to help the daily lives of our children, meaning, you know, are they having mental issues? Are they having behavioral difficulties? Are they having physical, you know, the scoliosis or the low tone? How is that affecting them? And what can we do? It isn't just about the hunger. You know, we've talked about this many times. There's so many other aspects to it. I know the hunger is the big thing, and I'm not trying to downplay that at all. But there's so many other aspects to it.
right. The sleep issue is huge. The sleep issue is a huge
Absolutely.
issue for our kids.
And I don't think that 17 years ago, we knew what we know now as far as sleep is related, how directly that is related to our children,
Exactly.
to their learning, to their moods, all of it.
I think the sleep issue has so many ramifications for our kids. I think it affects them in every aspect of their life. So the more
Think about when you first have a baby and you're so fatigued, your body, your hormones are out of whack, and you're not getting any sleep at night. You're walking around in a brain fog.
right.
So are our children feeling that way as well, walking around in a brain fog?
I can tell you that Justice has said, yes, that's how she felt. She was just completely always in this kind of fog sort of thing. So I don't know. I think that we're come a long way, and I think in the next 5 years, it's going to be even more amazing, the things that they come up with, the treatments. I mean, there's
Right.
so many drugs in trial right now.
And go back to that possibilities. I mean, what doors can we open for our kids?
Right.
You know,
Right. And I'm just grateful that there's so many people that are available to answer these questions. You know, we don't have to try to navigate this alone. There are so
thank
many.
God.
Right?
I'm not a geneticist, as if you hadn't guessed yet.
Yeah, me either. I don't even play one on TV anymore.
Right.
So yeah, there's just so many possibilities. And I think that, you know, if I could get out the word to everybody that they do not need to do this alone, that there are so many people willing and available to help them, you know.
And doctors all over the country that are fighting for this.
Yes.
You know, they want it just as much as we do. I mean, what doctor doesn't want to be the acclaimed person? I cured PWS, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope, a lot of possibilities, and a heck of a lot of joy from our.
Agreed.
So
now we should have a glass of wine.
yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. So I was gonna say, if this was like our last conversation ever,
Oh, I don't want to hear about that.
sad. That'd be
Yeah.
too, wouldn't it? But I would definitely want to tell you that you are an inspiration to me, and I love you dearly. And I know that we will always be friends forever, and our kids will most likely be hanging around a lot. So, but you can plan on us coming to visit you soon.
Well, you know you're my favorite crayon in the box, girl.
Crazy crayon.
Yeah, we'll always be friends. You know, and I think our friendship means a lot to me, and as you as well, I'm sure. And I think that I love seeing so many of our parents really make those connections, and they hang out together, they spend time together, they cross state lines for each other, and that's how we are. We are a fantastic community.
Definitely.
I don't think there are other syndromes that have this kind of thing. They don't know what they're missing out on.
No, I know. Because yeah, we can't, like I keep saying, we can't do this alone. So if we have these connections, you know, and maybe we only talk on the phone a couple times a week, you know, or message or send text or whatever, but those morning texts you send me to just brighten my day up, it like brings a smile to my face every time I get one. I'm just like, oh, this is going to be a good day. So
Oh, you're the best.
yeah.
Well, you know, I'm always there for you. If you're having a crappy day or if you're having a great day, I'm always there for you. I want to share in it all.
That I've called you on many a crappy days. I'm just too many.
We all have those days. Trust me, I have them plenty.
Yeah, well, that's why we need to have each other, and other people need to, you know, find those connections. Make sure that you find that person that.
Yeah, I mean, it amazes me it's not all that uncommon to find someone that just never reached out, never felt comfortable, just tried to go it alone. I was like, maybe I'm needy, I don't know, but I couldn't imagine doing this alone.
I couldn't either. Nope, definitely couldn't imagine my life without you. So very grateful.
I got you, girl.
Very grateful.
Very grateful for you. Grateful for PWSA USA. Grateful for the doctors that work so tirelessly for PWS and trying to find answers.
Yeah.
And actually, the most grateful for my son, because no matter what, he's just an awesome kid.
I have to agree with you. He is pretty awesome. Justice is okay too.
Even when he's making me crazy.
Yeah. Well, it was so nice to sit and talk with you.
Yes, yes, as always. Always a pleasure.